oh, I want to go travel to this country today and just be able to go there. I think that sort of freedom is what I desire from my whole life.
Because once you start saving, once you start doing well with the money, you will not be to go away from the bad habits. So here we are talking differently. People think wherever making money, they have to go, let's say, for clubs or other stuff they do. That's not the way to teach the financial literacy. Yo, Father, we have another episode from Team Talk. I'm excited. We are talking to one of them amazing. This year he joined us as a volunteer, Ansh. Ansh, how are you today?
I'm doing good, Kodrean. How are you?
I'm really good. Look, it's been crazy how time fly, right? When the first time we met, it was in a Festival of the Future,
Yeah.
or maybe TEDx. Which one we met
I
first?
think. Oh, I can't
Fest-
even remember.
Wait, because Festival of Future was before TEDx.
Yeah, no, and I think we met 2023 at Festival of the Future. Except I didn't know anything about you guys, so I just saw the little podcast booth and I was like, "Ooh, that's cool." I'm not ready to do a podcast. Like I wasn't, as engaged as I am. So I just like sort of observed from a distance, and I was like, "That's very cool." And now I've just been on this journey, and now I'm the one in the seat. So it's
And you're one of the superstar already because you are already have led a nice podcast on this series of the Team Talk. So I want to thank you for joining this year. You make it us more like a strength by the wisdom as a young person is bringing to us. So thank you for choosing to spend your time, you volunteering with us this season. By saying that, Ansh, when we met, I found you were really loving your school and the things you do, and I wanted to do a podcast with you. Especially, I think you also talked in the TEDx. You were one of the speaker, so you talk about mental health. Is it about that, right?
yeah, men's mental health. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what about today's team talk? We will make it a little bit more about you, so you can see, discover who is Ansh. Yeah.
Perfect. That sounds good.
Great. So people watching, subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe in our channels and follow us so you can be updated and stay tuned on the great corridor we will have. Let's get back to the talk. Ansh, tell me straight away, what's your dream? Big question.
Oh, big question. I think my dream. Oh, there's two very strong dreams I have. I have a professional dream and like a personal dream, I'd say.
Right. Which one you start?
So I'd say my personal dream is freedom, which is a very broad term, but I guess just the ability to do anything I want, like gain. I really, going through life, I guess I really look for experiences and gaining experiences, whether that be through friendship, doing activities or sports or like getting thrill or traveling. I look for those experiences, and I think having the ability to just gain those experiences, do those fun things, whenever I want, be able to just like think, oh, I want to go travel to this country today and just be able to go there. I think that sort of freedom is what I desire from my whole life, personally. And I
Right.
think professionally, my goal in life is to be able to lead a mission. I think that's again very broad, but to be able to work with people, to be able to lead an organization, and I still haven't quite found my mission or my passion in life yet, but I know I will find it, and I think when I find it, I want to be there directing that mission and really work to overcome struggles and hurdles, because I believe that's something I personally love doing, overcoming hurdles and working with other people. So I think that's my very tippy top professional goal, is to be the CEO of a big multinational company.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love that. So both of them is great. Especially how you are interpreting the freedom, that kind of thing, which is also I will talk more like about some of the topics we will see how related to both of them. But before we go to deep dive like those conversations, um, would you tell like the audience and the people listening or watching to this podcast about what you're doing now? Are you a student and are you at uni now, right?
Yeah.
So what are you studying there?
So I'm in this sort of complicated phase, I guess. I have graduated from school at the end of last year, high school, which was a great journey. And now I applied to universities overseas, and they work a little differently, whereas in their school year starts in August.
Right.
So I realized I had about 8 months of time to just, I guess, sit alone at home. And I knew that I didn't want to waste these beautiful 8 months of freedom that I do have. So I did start some courses at Victoria, doing a Bachelor of Commerce and a Bachelor of Global Studies. And those are quite similar to the degrees that I'm pursuing in international universities, the ones I've applied to. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Right. So at the moment in Vic Uni, you doing few courses
Yeah.
until August.
Yeah.
And then will be considered like exchange program or how it's
No, so it'll be starting off fresh in the international universities. Basically, the New Zealand universities aren't really doing anything for credit, so it'll just be like a fresh start, day one with everyone else there. So yeah, I think it's a bit of a filler, but I think I should use my time to learn and gain new insights.
right.
Yeah.
And why you choose that path?
Yeah, so international universities have always been something, I guess, in my thought process. I think it was put in my mind by my parents. Like, they're always going to be the introduction to most of your ideas that you do get. But I did really fall in love with the idea of moving outside of New Zealand. I think there are so many beautiful opportunities in New Zealand and in Wellington, but I really feel like I've made the most of those opportunities, and I really want to move on into a new sort of unknown territory and try to go on that journey to conquer another place. So that's why I really want to target American universities, go there, a bit cliche, but the land of opportunities, and really try to make the most of my new self there. And that's what really led me to those unis.
Right.
Overseas.
Well, that's really cool. That's great. And I wish you all the best and good luck with your journey. You said it's August or September?
Yeah, August.
August. So you'll be traveling in August.
Yes,
Oh.
yes, I believe so. Late
Super.
August. Not 100% sure about the dates yet, but I think
Yeah, around
that's
that
what
time.
it is.
Okay, now this is really cool the path, the way you're choosing. I think the international expertise is just a great from many levels of traveling, independency, of new culture, new study, new style. I think that will also add a lot to the flavor that you grow up in the schools in New Zealand and all of that. So I think that's just a great combination of the different levels of way. So by that said about what you're doing now and things, let's go back a little bit on the I love that you started the dream that you have too, which is on the freedom. And we'll talk about that. So we were talking before, behind the scenes, before this podcast about what we talk about today. And we were thinking about talking youth and finance.
Mm.
So any thoughts around that? What's your perspective? How our youth are doing with the finance?
I think it's a key problem. Going back to my applications overseas, I've had to do a lot of essays and writing a lot of things. And a common thing in those applications was, what is one problem you see in your community that you want to address? And I think that's really made me think about how our youth in New Zealand are really lacking a sense of financial education. We don't get it in schools, really, unless, even if you are taking business or accounting, you get a basic knowledge, but most students don't take those courses. Going through a regular schooling journey, you're never really taught about anything related to taxes, how to save, how to plan for buying your first home, retirement. And I think that's why in New Zealand, that's a part of the reason that contributes to why New Zealand has such a bad savings rate. We see so many people that work their whole lives and go their whole lives without really saving up enough to actually genuinely live when they retire.
Right.
And I think that's quite devastating. And I think it starts at our youth, at our education scale.
Yeah. So you think we are missing, like, we don't have financial literacy in the schools. Do you see then outside the school there's enough courses or kind of organization providing for public? Have you come aware of any other financial courses that's around there?
The only one I can think of is Young Enterprise, which is a thing I did through business, where it's a great organization that teaches you how to start up your own business and run it throughout the year. But again, that's only for the business students, and that only applies to starting and running a business. It doesn't really apply to your own personal self. I think the support around self-financial literacy is really not there. At least I haven't heard about organizations that work on it. There aren't really courses that are freely offered at our school that teach about it. And from everything that I've looked at, even as someone who's really interested in business and economics, I haven't been able to find that in our education system.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And there's a need there. So so if we talk in general that we don't have that for whole New Zealanders, then how about refugee migrants, which is they have more other challenges they go through, then they also will not have the learning the tax system and all the things to make them thrive. So there's a big need on the financial literacy. So in your perspective, so what do you think that will be good to have or good solution if you have a thought around this for youth especially?
Yeah, so now thinking about it, I do know there's like Advice Wellington. I'm not sure what it's called, but it's this free place where you go for advice, the Wellington Advice Bureau. I'm not sure of the name, but you do go there sometimes. But it's
Is
very
it Citizen Advice
Citizen
Bureau?
Advice
Yeah,
Bureau. I
wow.
think they do a little bit of that. But I think what we really need as a community is a large system, one that's not only, I think in schools is really important, having a program that is built and even like mandatory for our students. It doesn't have to be a really long program. Like all we need are basic skills. And I think basic skills they don't take a lot of time to teach. So it could be even a couple of assemblies or a small course, I think. But if the government, I think this has to be a government-run thing then if it was implemented in our education system. So I think that's one thing that could help with that. So yeah, sorry, taking back. So government helped education system, as well as that. You're very right with the refugee and migrant population that comes to New Zealand. There's nothing that really helps them with that at all. And I think that's completely the same for people with in lower socioeconomic classes. There's no resources behind that. So I think we need outreach in that. We need local programs that outreach into our community that teach them about these basic financial skills.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. And, this is something like, it's very, very important, those skills to be teach from starting from schools, because that's the place where you can build up on this and create the passions and get them ready for the future. Because, then there's this, but also I'm also interesting to find out there's the people say, oh, why you will get the youth involved in the money from early and stuff like that. Let them live their life. Let them. What do you think about those kind of statements?
So then I do get that argument. Why are you teaching them about that so young? My question would be to those people, so when do you want to teach them about that? Do you want to teach them about that after they start getting their first paycheck? Because I feel like that then becomes a bit irrelevant or like a bit late. Like, would you teach someone how to drive after they got their license? No, you'd teach them before. And I think the fact that most of our young population get their first jobs at 15, 16 years
That's
old,
right.
right? Or even younger. Even though they are like part-time jobs, but they do still get these jobs. And I think
Mm-hmm.
having that sort of education is a baseline, and it also eliminates bad habits creeping in. When you
Absolutely.
start when you start getting in that money, you start spending it, and you subconsciously build those bad habits and spending habits. And I think having an education before you start spending is necessary to stop those bad habits from coming in, and those cycles
Mm.
of maybe you're getting taught by your parents your spending habits or your friends. And I think having an intervention in that with a strong educational
Right.
system is important.
So in this case, you think like will be best on a high school or college time or university? Which one you think in your
I'm thinking
opinion?
personally, I think high school, um, a basic education should start at high school.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I believe even in university we don't have that. Only if commerce or business departments they may have.
I do
Yeah.
see that in university they do start doing like budgeting 101 lectures.
Hmm.
So I do see it coming more into university, and I think that's a good thing.
Hmm.
But I do really want to advocate for it being put down into the lower levels of education
Right.
as well.
So having that, how that will contribute to the well-being, to the mental health of people in your perspective, especially as a young people, you know?
Yeah, I think financial burden is a real thing,
Yeah.
and it's a real toll on people's mental health. I think especially going into university and having your first really large cost. Some people may have bought a car before that, which is also a very large cost, but that is like your first thing that you're spending tens of thousands of dollars on
Yeah.
is your university degree, and it's really confronting and really abrupt. And it does put a really large toll on your own like mental strain. And I think having an education that teaches you how to deal with these situations, to deal with student debt, and to deal with these large payments
Yeah.
could be a preventative factor of this mental strain.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Ansh, while you're talking, I was thinking about what do you see to those arguments? They say, okay, if you start teaching the kids or the young people about money, they may go find a job or focus on money more than focus on their education. What you would say for to that?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Have you had any conversation by that, by parents or stuff like that?
I haven't talked about that. That's the first time I'm hearing about that, but that's a really interesting perspective. I think I think an education about money is, ooh, you have to frame it in a way where it talks about how you use the money that you are coming in with. But that will be a situation that has to be navigated and dealt with adequately, because that is very much a real risk that is possible. But I do think that teaching students about how a strong education leads to a better financial, I guess, safety
Mm,
net and lifestyle.
right.
And I do believe that that should also be taught. Like, what are the paths that you can go down? How are they going to sustain, I guess, your financial needs as well? Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, no, that's a very good point, and I think just teaching them, just being transparent about it, as well.
Yeah, yeah. And if I can add to that, it is, like you mentioned, it's a risk, but we have to mention what kind of risk is that. Are we making them ready for the real life,
Mhm.
which is the ultimate goal after the education is to find a work. That's what the way we have been teach, right? Go study, university, and job. That's the way we've been teach, and then thrive in this life. So what about if you find this? Some of them actually have find the skills that they are young, but they are good businessmen, good businesswomen, business people that are discovering those skills, and you put them under right education.
Yeah,
The question is why not, right?
exactly.
Then in terms of education and in terms of maybe people ask if we risk if they forgot, actually would be better to be mentored well. Because once you start saving, once you start doing well with the money, you will not go away from the bad habits. So here we are talking differently. People think whoever making money, they have to go, let's say, for clubs or other stuff they do. That's not the way to teach the financial literacy. It's actually teach you opposite, how you get away from this to save money for your future. And the whole learning about finance, it's about putting your money in the right place, putting your money in the future of your education, putting your money because education is investing on yourself, you know. So I think for myself, is it not a risk? But it could be question, could be risk for a lot of parents, a lot of people who may say, oh no, if we teach them about money, they may get away from it and they may forget about education and stuff. There should be some sort of, learning about money can contribute to invest in your future in educations, you know?
Yeah, I think going back to what you said about investing, that's really important. I think we do need to teach a lot about where people should invest their money. And I think bringing up education as an investment is a really strong point, and a really strong idea that your education is actually an investment into your own future. You learn skills, you get qualifications, and you set yourself up to go down a different path, or even basically a staircase that allows you to jump into new opportunities. So that's really interesting, seeing education as an investment.
Yes, absolutely. So by that said, and the financial, it's very important for the well-being. It's not everything, but it is important to different level, because when you have a healthy financial situations, you will help the family will help others. So to reduce the violence, a lot of problems come out because of lack of something. There's something in need. When people can't access to it, when people cannot reach to it, it will turn up into situation creating some kind of unsatisfaction to the next level of a violence, of stuff like that. I think this is all related. So having financial literacy in the schools is a good thing rather than to be a bad things. Thinking about, we've been living for ages now without that. Why not we try it before we judge on it, right? You just say a risk. How do we know the risk if we don't really try it first? So I would say hardly. I'm very open for that, but to be monitored, which is like you mentioned in the beginning, to be basic in the school, then strongly in the university, because I think it will be so great university to fail. With all respect, my colleagues will hear me, from university. I love university, but what I'm trying to say, if university do not teach their students how to be freedom from getting out 0 credits at the end, that's kind of a failure system. They are graduating students with a 50,000 loan and stuff. You need to come like it's 1-2 more years to pay it back or more, which is good luck if you find a job in this environment. It's really hard. That's why we have to change the things. So by that said, I want to jump into, we have, I think, a few more minutes, right? Oh, just the two. Team is saying that we have only 2 minutes. Guys, give us 5 more minutes. The topic is heat, and this is good here. I want to think about the influencers. Have you been aware, like as a young one, talk about cryptocurrency, talk about all the things in the internet, how you become rich in 5 days or 20 days? What's your thought as a young one when you see such a things in the internet?
I think it's definitely an influence. I think there are a huge amount of people that do see these things and they're like, this is my one-way ticket to financial freedom. This will make me rich. And I do see a lot of people that do it. And mostly some of them actually do succeed, which is really surprising. There are people who start up legitimate businesses because of these things. And start posting videos on TikTok and investing and doing all the stuff that these courses online teach you. But there are also other people who try this stuff out and it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't make
Right.
any money. I haven't heard too many cases of youth investing in cryptocurrency and losing all their money, because I don't think they invest too much into it. But I do know like certain crazes like we had as NFTs back in the past. There were kids who were really influenced by social media, and they were like, this is going to make me a lot of money. So they spent ridiculous amounts of money on these things, which they weren't really informed about. And I think that's not only a youth thing, that's just
Everyone.
just the entire community. But I do see the negative effects of social media on these sort of trends.
Yep.
When you're when you don't have that sort of knowledge or awareness of how important that this limited asset that money is, they don't really put enough meaning to that money, and they're putting it into places where it could easily just disappear. So I think we should really need to put an emphasis on how valuable money is. Literally.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I agree with you on that. And not no one what you see in the internet to make you rich in a easy way. I think that will be. You may get lucky. You may get lucky in somehow in some stuff you do, but that's not the easy way. As much as easy will be, that's also easy to go. The money will go away because you didn't work hard to get the value of that money, to get the value of what you are putting next to dollars that you earn or they make. So I think, and the good things take time. Even the biggest investors, they will always say, like, when you talk about investing, they will take whole long terms and stuff like that. That's the old technique, but that work because look at anything. If you want to build a house, it take a time. If you want to graduate from your education, it take a time. So we need to have a patience. We need to build that kind of skills, that how we will mindset be ready to learn. Why before you get that, invest in yourself. Are you ready to talk? Are you ready to present yourself? Are you ready to all these kind of skills, the risk and things. What we're doing right in the podcast is a way of communication. Why not to start from that, investing on those things before getting to the next steps? So by that said, do you have any other topic or question? I think the team will kill us, so we have to finish it.
Yeah, I think
quickly.
Final wrap-up point is that, as you said, invest in yourself.
Yeah.
I think just invest in your speaking ability, invest in your health, invest in your knowledge, invest in your friendships, and invest in your family. I think that's what's really important.
Yeah. But by that side, you just sum it up.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ansh. That was a great conversation with you. And team, guys, we see you in the next podcast. Stay tuned. Follow our social media and subscribe to YouTube channel. It's great support for us. See you next time.